Teddy, darling, are you ready? Okay, you're ready. Good. All right then. So, oh, okay. Well, that was welcome to Pet Talk with me, Anna, and what's your name? Okay, Teddy, that's good. All right. Now, do you remember I told you about our guest today? That's right. We are today really ahead of the game. So, our guest today is Yaz Porritt from Yorkshire Pooches Therapies. Hello, Yaz.
Hi there, Anna, and hi there, Teddy. What a lovely welcome introduction from Teddy. 10 out of 10. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely thrilled to be here.
Well, I think Teddy is extra excited because, he's always thrilled to know that there are people out there who are helping dogs with all sorts of issues. So I think this could be why he's so excited. Um, so you are a canine Marisha massage therapist.
Yes, correct.
What does that mean?
So, um, so canine Marisha massage it's a type of massage. So it's a combination of Swedish and sports massage, responding to the dog's behavioural cues. So that was my initial qualification. So I was a dog walker for 3 years and decided I wanted something different. So that's when I trained in the Marisha massage, and it just opened up this whole other world and it's led me on this journey to where I am now. So I refer to myself as a canine wellness consultant. So I do a lot of stuff about, body work. So that's incorporating the massage, but it's also myofascial techniques and reflexology. I also do a lot with species appropriate nutrition and, of course, Fatizo LED therapy. So yeah, I do a little bit of everything, but it's predominantly I specialize in canine pain management. It's the pain management is where my specialism is.
So, how does this massage work? How is it different from other techniques, like, say, T-touch or techniques that are looking at, the fascia? How is this different?
I think we all kind of fall under the same umbrella. So we're working with soft tissue. And when you're working with soft tissue, there's different kind of techniques that you can use. So the myofascial techniques I use are different to the massage techniques. But if we're specifically looking at the branch of massage that I'm trained in, the most important thing for me is responding to behavioral cues. Our dogs don't understand the concept of a massage, so they come to clinic and go, "Who are you? It smells like dogs in here. Are you a vet?" Like for them, they don't understand, and it's about building that line of communication. And especially when you're working with painful dogs, it's absolutely vital that the dog you're working with knows that they have the option to remove themselves from the situation. So it's very much about them opting in, because when you're working with the soft tissue, it's not just physical, it's also emotional, it's also a mental process as well. The body holds on to trauma in the soft tissue and also in the experience that's created in the brain. So with Marisha, it's the behavioral cues I think that makes it different to other types of massage. So for me, I'll kind of have like I'll look at a dog's medical history and go, right, okay, this is where I know I need to be, but I'm going to start the furthest point away. And it could be that I can't actually get to the painful area for 3 sessions. And it's not a case of you sit here, have your massage, I promise this is going to make you feel better. You've got to earn that trust with the dog. And it's not like a set routine that I do. Look at Teddy, he's so gorgeous. It's not like a set routine. It's very much I look at the Marisha massage as a toolkit, and I'll pick up different tools depending on what dog is in front of me. So some dogs are going to be absolutely fine with tapotement. Tapotement's a really kind of commonly used massage technique. So it's just different ways of sending vibration into the soft tissue. And I have some dogs that would be that I'd completely damage that trust with them if I was to use deportment. So even something like this, it's if you're looking at vibrational energy and you have a very anxious dog that's also a very painful dog, and you add in more vibration, it's it it just doesn't quite fit. But I think because I've been doing this now for, I think it's coming up 6 years I've been working with the massage and all the other bits and pieces that I do, you kind of start to build a bit of an instinct on what techniques you can and can't use. But massage is absolute base, and this can go for any kind of technique, is you're helping to restore function. That's what you're doing, you're restoring function.
Can you talk us through, because we've had a number of people on this channel talking about different types of massage.
Hmm.
And I think the question that I've never asked, which is possibly one of the most obvious questions,
No, go
is
on.
why does massage work? How does it
Uh,
affect the body to
okay,
to
that's a good question. That's a really good question. So massage at its absolute base, if you strip back all the different techniques and things like that, is you are promoting blood circulation to an area. That's all you're doing. So when you press on tissue, you are momentarily stopping blood flow to that area. But what happens when you take that pressure away is the blood goes, okay, and it goes back into the area. So the reason that massage is so effective for pain management, for sporting dogs, for emotional health, is because what massage does is something you can't put it in a pill. You can't put it into a like a dosage. It's all in your hands. They're the greatest tools that you we have available to us. And when we are promoting blood circulation to the area, what that does on like a on a biochemical level is it helps bring oxygenated blood to the area. So say you've got an inflamed area, so something that's sore, so you've walked into the corner of a desk, right? And you go, oh, and you rub your leg, don't you? So the reason that we do that is we're trying to promote oxygenated blood to go to that area in order to heal and repair. It also provides nutrients to the area, so it could be white blood cells, it could be red blood cells to fight infection or begin, part of that healing process. But another vital thing that it does is it helps take away all the rubbish that's left behind from inflammation or from injury. So, inflammation is a really important mechanism in the body. We wouldn't know that we needed to heal unless we had inflammation. And sometimes people can be a bit like, oh, we've got to get rid of inflammation. I'm like, no, no, we need it. It's there. The body wouldn't use it, if there wasn't a purpose for it. So part of that inflammatory process, it leaves behind something called free radicals. So free radicals, if they're left to kind of roam around the body, they can become carcinogenic. They're just not nice. We want to help flush that out of the system. But it's not just the soft tissue that you're working with as well. You'll also be working with the lymphatic system, which helps drain and detox away all of that rubbish that you've kind of picked up with your massage and sent away. So I hope that answers your question. It's a good question.
it does. And it's just so fundamental. And you're quite right. Most of us instinctively, when we get hurt, immediately touch the area where we've been hurt,
Hmm.
and often, give it a little massage.
Yeah.
And it's just so instinctive,
Hmm.
and often does make it feel a little bit better. Would you like a massage? Is that what this is about? Come back up. Um, so yes, it's quite a fundamental thing that we instinctively want to do. And
Hmm.
I really like the fact that you're talking about the way in which it also helps to clear out the body and the area.
Hmm.
Um, is there a risk with inflammation? If there's inflammation in the area and we massage the area, is there a risk that we can actually spread the inflammation around? A little
You
bit
can.
like if we've been bitten by an insect and we scratch, are we spreading it, or is there a
You
correct
can
way?
Yeah, you can certainly aggravate a situation. So, say for example, you had torn a ligament. the last thing you'd want is anyone touching it, let alone massaging it. And I think with our dogs specifically, and especially if it's your dog, you can very easily overstep that mark because we can't underestimate what our dogs will kind of sit and put up with in order to please us. So I would say kind of contraindications for massage. So no open wounds. We shouldn't be going anywhere near that. So, say if we had an open wound on the right hind leg, the compensatory tension is going to travel into the left forelimb. So you could like work a little bit as far away as possible as you can from the open wound. Um, if a dog, say, has a lump and we don't know what it is, it's really important that we don't actively massage any lumps that haven't been checked by the vet. If it's a fatty lump, the more we mess around with it, the bigger it gets. That's just how they behave. Um, and obviously, if it's a nasty lump, we don't want to be messing with it because if something kind of breaks off from that nasty lump and it can travel to somewhere else in the body. So I would say those are contraindications. If you have infection in that particular area, as well, that's not something that I would want to be massaging. So for me as a practitioner, my kind of like one of my rules as such is that I can't work with a dog that until they're at least 7 days post-op. Whereas with a physiotherapist, it's different. You kind of want a physio in there quite early doors, but with what I do, 7 weeks post-op, they're allowed to kind of come back to clinic. But yeah, from an infection point of view, I always think, if just apply it to yourself. If you had like a wound that was healed, but it was weeping and it was sore, would you want it to be touched? Not really, but what you might want is actually a little bit of like neck and shoulder massage because, oh my goodness, I've been so stressed, and a little bit of lymphatic drainage just to help the body detox from afar. So you shouldn't be too involved with things like infection or wounds or any kind of lumpy bumpies that we don't know what they are.
Brilliant, thank you. Now you mentioned fatty lumps, which it
Mhm,
seems is not uncommon.
mhm.
Um, what are fatty lumps? How do we get them?
I honestly, I
And they
don't
will
really
be
know. I don't really know the answer to that question. I know that certain breeds are more predisposed to them. So I see a lot of like doodly crosses that have little fatty lumps. What I say to people, because I find them a lot in clinic, right? So I have like memory in my hands of every dog that kind of comes into clinic, and I'll go, "Huh, that's new. What's that? What?" And I'll have a little squidge, and the things that I'm feeling for is it in the muscle? Is it in the belly of the muscle? Is it something that's just underneath the skin? I get the pet parents to get the phone and I'm like, right, get the torch on. I was like, let's just double check it's not a spot, it's not a tick, it's not an ingrowing hair. And it's about monitoring. So if something new has come up and it's growing quickly, that needs to be checked by a vet. I've had beautiful cockapoo. I've looked after him for years. I think he was like one of my first customers, and I see him every 8 weeks. And he got a lump just on his forelimb here, and I went, "Oh, I'm really not happy about this lump. I'm really, really not happy about it." And they were like, I said, keep an eye on it. I said, but the chances are where it is, the movement of the forelimb, it's going to get bigger. And then it's going to get bigger to the point that it's going to impede the function of the limb. And then you're weighing up, okay, well, he's 11 years old, and you have to weigh up your risks and your benefit. But he had it removed because it did get a lot bigger. He had it removed and had it checked, and it was complete, like it was just a fatty lump. That's all it was. But he now is a lot more comfortable in that area. He healed beautifully. Um, there's I've had dogs that are really covered in lumpy bumpies, and you just kind of remember where they are and what they feel like. And I think anyone that says, "Oh yeah, that's just a fatty lump," or "Oh yeah, you need to get that checked," just from touch alone, like that's not a thing. Like really we should be checking them, especially if they are bothering the dog, if they are growing quickly, or just get it checked. It's so easy now to get them checked. Quick biopsy. Again, depending on where it is as well, because I know that a lot of dogs, as they start to get older, they get like little warts. I have little what like my dog Rodney got one like on top of his head, so I'm like, okay, that's his little worry wart. And then Peggy, who's 9, who's my other dog, has got like a little one on her lip. And I'm just keeping an eye on them, and if they start to change rapidly, that's when I'll check them. But I don't know why, in all honesty. I think there has to be some kind of genetic input because there's certain breeds that I see fatty lumps on, and it tends to be doodlies. But I see a lot of doodlies. So that's also going to make me very biased as well.
I was just curious as to what they were, and I had read somewhere along the line that grapefruit oil was good,
Ah,
but I have no idea whether that's true or not. So just a point of curiosity because they do seem to be quite common, and
mm,
I've always wondered, well,
why? Why is it a
why
given? Yeah, yeah.
something to do with the food that we're giving them? Is it, what is it? So, yeah. Okay. Now, that speaking of grapefruit oil, it made me think of another one of your hats, applied herbal choices consultant. So
Yes.
curious. So, are you a canine herbalist?
I think I can say that. So applied herbal choices. It falls under the umbrella of zoopharmacognosy. So basically, what we're doing is providing. I call it a buffet of plant-based materials, and animals instinctually, I mean, they're far better than us. They haven't lost their ability to self-select for medicinal purposes. So when I hold the sessions, it's dogs that already come to see me in clinic for pain management. So we've already got that rapport, and I know their medical history and what medication they're on, because you have to be careful. Like, just because it's natural doesn't mean that it can't interact with other drugs, for example, or it can't, like aggravate a particular disease, for example, like epilepsy or something like that. So you have to be very well prepped for these sessions, but they are so beautiful. So basically, I'll say, right, give them the meds as normal, give them their tea as normal. The most important thing is that they are fed so that when they are selecting, it's for the medicinal properties, not the nutritive properties. So we start off with, I'll have so in my clinic, I'll line 20 balls around the room. And it'll just be a whole variety of different dried herbs. And usually when the dog comes in, they're like, oh, and people think, oh, my dog's going to eat everything. And they don't. They really don't. Like, they're very, very particular. And we just let the dog interact, a little bit of reassurance, like, no, no, you can go explore. That's okay. And I just make a little note of what they've been selecting. And then, depending on what they've been selecting, will help inform the choices I make for moving on to the next stage. So you move from plant-based, so like dried foraged herbs that I've got. Then we move on to powders, and there's certain powders that are really popular with dogs, or there's certain powders that are really popular with horses, because I trained with horses as well. Not that I'm accepting Shetland ponies in clinic or anything like that. I just did it so I could, like try with my friends' ponies and stuff like that. We do the powders, and then we go into the hydrolats, the hydrosols, and then all the way up to the essential oils. The essential oils are therapeutic grade. They're very, very powerful. So it's like you have to kind of work your way up to it, and depending on what they've been picking. So if they've been picking a lot of plant-based material that is like really good for anti-inflammatories, I'll go, okay, I'll maybe open with a Roman and German chamomile essential oils. So you kind of take the lid off both of the essential oils and hold them apart, and then the dog will gravitate towards whichever resonates with them. Or sometimes I go, oh, that's me, and I go, oh, no worries, I'll have a look and see what else I've got. So you've got to make sure, again, it's about choice. You have to make sure that they have a choice in the situation. Um, it could be that they had a lot of anti-inflammatory stuff, but also they selected a lot of dandelion root, and dandelion root is really good for bladder and kidney health. So that might make me divert in a different direction. Um, and each, like, I can make like very rough guides on how I offer the selections, but they pick at the end of the day, and I'll go, oh, so I thought, given your history, you'd want a lot of stuff to support digestive health. But then I offer licorice root powder, which goes down really, really well with dogs with digestive issues. And they go, oh, that's minging. I want rose hips and dandelion. I'm like, okie dokie, right? And it's like, you've got to think on your feet with it. But that's the magic of it. That's the joy of it. So when I do these sessions, they can take up to 2 hours. And I always say book it as my last appointment of the day, because it's not a case of the timer goes off and I'm like, right, okay, come on, you're finished. Because especially with the essential oils, the dogs, they go into like this meditative state, and to like wake them up from that is like highly unethical in my opinion. So I always say, right, okay, we're going to start gently closing off the session now. So the way that you do that is you just start putting lids on the oils, and you just wait for the dog to come back round. And then if they're not kind of wanting to come back round and it's kind of clocking on a little bit, I'll try some like uplifting essential oils. So things like peppermints are, one that, or like lemon, things like that. But I like hold it so far away, and they just get a little twitch on the nose and they go, oh, you wanted me to wake up now? I'm like, yeah, just, when you're ready. But I've had dogs that are like, yeah, I'm going back to sleep. And I'm like, it's very, it's, it's very emotionally charged. They're very emotionally charged sessions as well, like for the pet parents, just to see their dog just completely reconnect to themselves is beautiful, and it's an absolute honor. They're one of my most favorite sessions to host. They're really magic.
I love that. Got so many questions for you.
Yeah,
So,
fire away.
so the first one that occurred to me, because you were talking about how they select things to help themselves.
Hmm.
A common one that people will see is their dogs going for grass. Um, why? What is it about grass?
So, I love this question because I do get this one a lot. So, they are eating a particular type of grass. So, I call it spring grass, but it's also known as couch grass. And depending on the time of year, is going to differ how much or what part of the plant your dog is eating. So there's different reasons. So one reason is that they use it to purge. So they might really gorge on grass. Let your dog gorge on grass. There is a reason for it, okay? So my dogs, it tends to be late spring coming into summer. They'll do a lot of gorging of couch grass. And when they bring that grass back up, which is usually what within 5-10 minutes or something, they'll bring it back up. If it's white foam that comes up, they're getting rid of toxins around the throat. So you've got the thyroid in there, and a lot of dogs have undiagnosed thyroid issues. So if they bring it up and there's white foam, they're getting rid of toxins from here. If they bring that grass up and it's a yellow foam, it's because they've got excess bile in their stomach and they're trying to get rid of it. They can eat it and it goes through the digestive tract, and then you have to do that really glamorous thing as a pet parent and pull the grass out of their bum when it comes out the other end. Now, couch grass, if you look at couch grass, if you get a really good piece of couch grass and you hold it up to the sun, you'll see it's got little fibers on it. So imagine that couch grass, it's almost like a pipe cleaner that goes through the intestinal tract, and it's a really good way to get rid of any like pesticides that are in there. Now, obviously, if your dog's got a full on, like worm burden, like you can't just leave it to couch grass to clear it out. However, if your dog is eating a lot of couch grass and passing it through the other end, just do a worm count, just double check. It can just be a little flag. It could be that they're just wanting a clear out as well. That's also okay. And what's the other thing with couch grass? If they're eating the full blade of grass, that's because they're wanting to purge or they're wanting it to go out the other end. But at this time of year, my dogs start to just eat the tips. So late summer and early spring, they'll just eat the tips of the couch grass, and the reason for that is because they're full of sugar and they're really sweet.
Ah, so I did wonder about that because
Hmm.
Ted is very partial to grass all year round.
Yeah. Oh,
And
nice.
and he particularly likes the new grass. And yes, but in the spring also, we know that that's when the grass is richest. And then at this time of year, it gets like a
Gets a
second wind,
second flush. Yeah, yeah.
and so it would be again, and it is usually the tips that he's eating, with the exception of when he tries to do it, when he wants to do it first thing in the morning, then it does make him throw up. And the funny thing is, I always know he's going to do it because I can hear his tummy rumbling.
Mm.
So what is that tummy rumbling? Is it that he's hungry, or what's going on there?
It could be that he's hungry. So say, maybe he didn't eat all his tea the night before, or maybe his tea didn't just sit quite right. You know, sometimes when you eat something, you're like, oh, that's not sat right with me. Or it could be that he's really hungry, and he's going, oh, I need to eat something, and that's why he goes for it. But especially if you hear his tummy rumbling, it could be that he's a little bit hungry, and he's wanting to kind of purge, or there might be something sat in there, especially dogs that have like natural treats and stuff. I know my dogs do this sometimes. You know, the cow's hoof, the dried cow's hoof, like, very popular in my household with the dogs. And sometimes if they've had like a chunk that's a bit too big and it's stayed in their tummy, they'll use the grass to bring that up and bring the big bit of
Yeah,
hoof back up again. So I always say, just trust your dog. I know it sounds daft because people go, like, oh, my dog would eat anything, but like, especially when it comes to grass eating, they know what they're doing. If that's what makes them feel better, and they just needed a bit of a morning clear out, because we're not going through it every single time. He might have eaten, I don't know, like a table scrap that's not sat right, or he might have got a little bit of plastic from a toy or anything like that. But he knows what he's doing. It's if I'd say, like, if the only kind of like contraindication would be a dog, say, that was doing it and then was vomiting a lot, or there was like any blood or anything like that. That's when you're like, hey, oh, just need to go to the vet. It could be that your dog needs a little bit of antacids, but then there's like natural things you can do to promote, like, keep that stomach acid in check. My previous dog Snoopy, he was diabetic, and he used to love eating couch grass, and he would never be sick, ever. He would eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. But obviously, he was trying to regulate his insulin. And I never knew. I never knew. That's what he was doing. So I would say trust your dog. Trust your dog. Teddy knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
oh, generally I would agree. But there are times when I'm somewhat horrified.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's when my dog Peggy, she's a ex-Romanian street dog, and sometimes she'll just eat a tea really quickly, and I'll go, that's gonna come back up. You're gonna go for round two on that, and then I'll go, right, should we all go stand in the garden for a bit? And then she's like, oh, mummy, I'm gonna be sick. It's like, I knew that was gonna happen. And she fetches it up, and then she goes for round two, and then it stays down. I'm like, maybe if you hadn't eaten like an absolute trollop, that was sat nice in your tummy. The joy of being a pet parent.
Yeah, mine is when we're walking along and I suddenly realize he's gobbled up something and I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Or or I can't get to him and he's just eaten some leftovers, something or other that's somebody's thrown away,
yeah,
fast food, and I am appalled because
yeah,
I have no idea what that really is or what it's going to do to him. So this is where I say to him, but you have the best quality food that anyone could ever wish for. And then you go and you eat junk food.
yeah. I think, what did Peggy eat the other day? Took her for what is she ate cat poop.
Oh, yeah.
I was
Oh,
like, that's disgusting. You're not self-selecting. That's just minging. And do you know what it'll be? Because of all the additives and stuff that's in cat food to make it
yeah.
appetite. I'm like, oh, that knocks me ill. And then she once had a dead bird in her mouth, and I'm like, "Come on!" And she's like, "Natural, mum. This is what you always preach." I'm like, "Oh, not that though. Let me prepare it for you, darling, and make sure it's DEFRA tested before you eat it."
Well, um, I think you're right, though. On the whole, we do need to trust them.
Mhm,
And I have interviewed dog nutritionists on this program,
mhm.
uh, who have said, well, there are a number of things that they will use that will act as a probiotic for them that would disgust us. So, what can I
Fecal
say?
matter transplant, is it? Well, that's Peggy's case. I'm just like, you minging, you minging.
Uh, so, okay, now you actually talked about grass also being a cleansing factor for potentially for worms and parasites.
Yeah.
Uh, what what can we do to avoid using essentially pesticides, on our
Yeah.
animals to worm them? Are there natural things that people can use to help keep a good regime in terms of worming, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dogs haven't been flead or wormed for 5 years, 5, 6 years, and they're still here. They're still live and kicking. So with worms, I mean, I kind of like I used to be a lot more strict about it because I went from being a very conventional pet parent to being a very natural pet parent, and it takes you a while to kind of get into the swing of it and just relax a bit with it. So I'm not as good as I should be, but my dogs have rabbit ears with the fur on a couple times a week. They have ground pumpkin seed a few times a week. And they're fed a raw diet. So the raw diet, it's all from DEFRA approved manufacturers, so I know that the meat's clean and it's safe to feed them it raw. And that's garlic. Sometimes I'll kind of like rotate in garlic. It's not the most stringent thing, but my dogs aren't, apart from Peggy, aren't massively prone to picking up dead things. So I remember working with a dog that lived up in it's Scotland, really rural Scotland, and this dog was in everything, dead deer, dead rabbits, and eat. And I was like, right, you have to be really strict with your natural kind of like worming regime. Now, he's now clear because I use is it Fecal Lab? Think it's Fecal Lab, so like once every 3 months, I'll just make sure that there's, no worm burden or anything like that. And if there is a worm burden, you can use grapefruit seed extract, which is phenomenal. The dog up in Scotland cleared it up. She tested before, I think did he have hookworm? I think it was hookworm that he had. Did the grapefruit seed oil extract, and then she tested again, and he was clear. Now, I used to foster Romanian street dogs. Peggy was my first failed foster. But with those guys, I would say like they can be incredibly prone to very large worm burdens. So when you see a puppy with its belly completely round and distended abdomen, would I be recommending a rabbit seed and grapefruit seed extract? Absolutely not. That dog needs chemical intervention, and that's what it's there for. But for our pet dogs, and we're looking at their poop all the time because we're picking it up and they're fed a good diet, and we mixing natural bits and pieces, and there's loads of fantastic things on the market, from things like is it Mr. Slobber Chops? They do like a really good natural range, and there's some Billy No Mates. I think they definitely do a flea and tick. Sure, they
They
do
do.
it. I'm sure.
They do.
Yeah.
Teddy do it as a powder, and they
Hmm.
also do it as a tincture. And Teddy has the tincture daily
Yeah.
in the summer months.
Really good products and no chemicals. So I think for things like that, absolutely use the natural things. But if you have a dog that's got a really bad worm burden, then you have to use, that's just from like a safety perspective, especially with As in Romania, you see a lot of young puppies with this kind of really uncomfortable distended abdomen. And the same goes for flea and ticks. Like everyone has a meltdown about fleas. I mean, I do about ticks because they're absolutely minging, but and I can't bear it. But like if a tick is on a dog and I go, oh God, like I can't do it. Like I give the customer the tick twister because they creep me out. But fleas don't bother me. Like so for flea stuff again, there's some really nice natural stuff on the market that's not going to absolutely obliterate the environment. So there's things like Dermadog, Billy No Mates, and what was the other one I said? Dermadog, Billy No Mates, Mr. Slobber Chops as well. They've got loads of stuff, and it's all essential oil based. You can even make your own as long as you're using therapeutic grade essential oils. You can make your own, like neem essential oil, lavender, lemongrass, things like that. Mix it up with a bit of water, spray it on. I think whenever you're doing kind of any natural protocols, you have to be a little bit more on it than when you're using chemicals. So chemicals, you put the rubbish on the back of the neck and that's it, they're done for the month. Whereas with the natural protocol, say for example, if you've got a dog that kind of goes in and out of water a lot, you have to reapply it. And the way that I kind of spray my dogs is I go down their back and under each armpit and in their groin, and they have that every 2 or 3 days. And if they get a flea, I just brush them and then I bath them. There's a really good shampoo. It's oh my days, I can't remember it. It's on Amazon. It's in like a it's I want to say it's like Dr. Richards or something like that, but it's all essential oil based. So if I find a flea on one of the dogs, everyone gets a brush, all the bedding goes on a hot wash, and that's it. It's okay for your dog to have a couple of fleas. The world isn't going to implode. When Peggy came from Romania, so obviously for them to come into the country, they have to have the all the vaccinations and the flea and the worm and all of that stuff. So when she came, and I was like, "What is that smell?" And like I parted her coat, and she had been covered in fleas, and it was the blood. You can smell it. And like I remember bathing her, and like in a situation like that, one dose of one of the nasties, okay, I get it. But if I'd have known different, I think I would have tried to have persevered with natural stuff. But the chemical stuff's there for a reason, but like this injection that they've brought out, like, oh no way, like a year's protection from fleas. I always say to people, like, do you remember like when you're at school and like you got a letter home saying, okay, we've got nits going round. Imagine if your parents gave you a tablet to stop you from getting nits. That doesn't happen. What you do is you treat them if they're there with shampoo and you brush your hair, and that's what you do. Like, but again, going from being a very conventional pet parent to a very natural pet parent, it was like oh my days, like it's nerve wracking because it's kind of drilled into us that conventional is the
It is.
only way.
And it's quite scary because, it, you're scared into believing
Hmm.
that this is the only way forward. But essentially, what we're doing is we're putting pesticides
Yeah.
into our animals' bloodstreams. And I can't think that that's a good idea.
It's not, and then it will also be transferring onto us. It'll be transferring into our home, the environment, and it just kind of makes. I shouldn't laugh, but I do laugh because it's like we need to be more careful about using topical treatments because we're damaging the environment. I'm like, what about the dogs that you've been damaging for years?
Exactly.
I worked with a dog called Pat. He had a lot of medical stuff going on, housebound, Bichon Frise. And his mum said to me, when I give him he had epilepsy, when I give him his wormer, he always has a fit afterwards. And I was like, okay, so what's happening? And like when I broke it down and explained it to her, and I said, also, why are you worming a dog that doesn't leave the house? Like he lived in like a really big house, lots of land and everything, but he never went out of his own property. I was like, why? And she went, do you know what? I never thought of it like that. I went, I was like, should we try doing natural and just see what happens? And weirdly, I mean, he still was having fits because he had epilepsy, but he didn't have fits induced by natural things. But you're right, it's pesticides. You won't put pesticides in your children. Why are you putting them in your dog?
I love the aromatherapy that you're bringing in as well. I think that is just so exciting. And it's funny because Teddy's taste in smells is somewhat different to mine, as you could imagine. And we do have one smell in common, and that's lavender. He
Ooh.
loves the smell of lavender. There are one or two others in terms of food, but he's always loved lavender since he was a puppy. I have pictures of him still with the breeder. I think he was about 7 weeks old,
Hmm.
and he had climbed a little wall and then got stuck up there. And it turned out that it was because he wanted to go and smell the lavender.
Oh.
Yes. So he does, we do have, one or two smells in common.
Hmm.
And I can just see it. I can just see that, there's this amazing potential because they do select and they don't eat anything and everything.
Hmm.
Try to give Teddy some celery and you'll soon find that he doesn't like it. Uh, so, they are the same with certain berries.
Yes.
But he likes some, he doesn't like all of them. So
Hmm.
I love this, and I have so much to talk to you about that I think I'm just going to have to invite you back.
Yeah, you give me a shout, I'll be here. I can literally talk forever and a day. Anything to do with dogs, natural health, pain management, I'm here for it.
Brilliant. So, yes, if people want to find you, how do they do that?
So I predominantly use Instagram, so that's yorkshire.pooches. I'm also on Facebook and TikTok as yorkshire.pooches, and I also have a YouTube channel which is Yorkshire Pooches Therapies, and my website is yorkshirepooches.co.uk. And I've got lots of free resources on there about fatizo wound healing and pain and also basically things that I like to talk about. I just write blogs about it. So there's an absolute heap of resources on there as well.
Fantastic. I just want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. Next time, we're going to look at how to prevent injury. Until then, goodbye.